Hello and welcome to a NeON topic discussion. That's right, this is NeON Gaming Dimensions discussion podcast where we talk about the latest topics in games media, and all of the above. I'm your host, Luke Shot First, aka Gage Luke, and with me I have a very special guest in the house tonight. But first, we have the producer supremo, the dungeon master himself, Jacob Jones. How's it going tonight, man?
Hey, what's up? We decorated the downstairs for Halloween, so I hope you enjoy my backdrop.
It looks excellent. I saw that they were reacting to your computer and everything. You got it all teched out.
Are they?
Well, that's what you said. I don't know. You said some shit earlier and they moved. It was cool.
Nothing's happening.
Maybe it was just a poltergeist. Who knows? Who knows? And then, yeah, our special guest tonight, my friend and yours, you know him from the Kind of Funny chat. He's in there a lot. And the PS Plus game club. This is the Portland Kevin. Say what up, my friend.
What's up, internet friends? How's it going?
Yeah, good to have you on. A while back, I was on your podcast, and that was fun. We talked about Raji and Ancient Epic, which was a fun game that's available on PS Plus. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, I run the PlayStation Plus Game Club, and we pick one game off of PlayStation Plus Extra and break it down like it's a book club kind of thing. So we meet once a month. We record just the conversation that, thoughts we had about the game. Sometimes it's a spoiler cast. Sometimes it's just a general discussion. Really depends on the game and the kind of story that's involved in that game. So. Like an example would be Proteus. We did last month, and that was definitely not a spoiler cast kind of game. We just talk about shooting monsters in the face. Nice. But then just this last weekend, we recorded an episode for Life is Strange True Colors, and nice. That was a total spoiler cast. So look forward to that coming up in the next week.
That's cool, because I feel like, especially with the PS Plus titles and stuff, like maybe they're games that they've been out for a little while sometimes when they cycle in there, so it makes sense to be able to go full deep, and especially on story heavy games like that. That's cool. Who'd you have on for the True Colors one? Who can we look forward to, if you're ready to announce it? That is.
So we had a couple of people from another podcast Discord that I tend to be pretty active in, called the Trophy Talk podcast, and a couple of guys. We had Smackerly and the Green Gorilla Gamer nice. Coming in for that. So if you're ever in that Discord, you'll recognize those names. But both of them also have their own podcast and Twitch channel.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, everyone go check that podcast out. It's really cool, and it's a great idea. It's a good way to run through these subscription services. And later on, we're going to be talking about some other games that are on the various subscription services out there, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, tonight we wanted to talk about kind of retro gaming in 2024, and this topic kind of came from the fact that both Kevin and I, who both live in Diet Seattle, aka Portland, Oregon, went to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. That was not last weekend, but the weekend before. It was a really cool event, and so we kind of wanted to just talk about our experience with that, and it was just a good way to kind of check in with the state of retro gaming and all about that. So yeah, we're going to talk about just kind of the overall topic of retro gaming. But Portland. Kevin, you have been to this gaming expo, you said a long time ago, and then went recently. Yeah, so you've been a number of times, right?
Oh yeah, a couple of times. Last time I was there, I think it was 2012 or 2013, and it was not at the Expo Center in Portland. It was at just a hotel randomly, like off the highway, and it was a set all-in-one conference room. So wow. there were booths that were at this year's Expo that were as big as the entire Expo was when I last went. So wow, it was quite a change.
Whoa.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, the convention center is pretty huge down there, so I knew that it had the potential to be a big old event, but you never know. It could have just been in one of those little, there was some cool like warehousey style back rooms and stuff, so I wasn't sure what kind of hall it was going to take up, but yeah, it was pretty huge. There was huge arcade sections, tournament sections, like other private rooms where like podcasts and panels were happening. So when I walked in, I was like, holy shit. Plus there's like a lot of tons of sellers, a whole floor worth of sellers, which was cool. So yeah, I didn't know what to expect when I bought tickets, and then this was it went far above and beyond my expectations. I got some show and tell things from it. Couple things that I picked up real fast. Jacob, there was tons of game, like booths that had tons and tons of retro games, all the way from old Atari stuff all the way up to 360 and current games even. But I was on the hunt for a couple of Game Boy games. I got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Nice.
For the Game Boy, which is a classic. I'm kind of like rebuilding my old Game Boy library.
Tight.
So that was a fun one. Here's my laminate from it real fast. Yeah.
Let me see. Oh yeah.
Pretty cool. It's like a PlayStation.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Got some fun stickers. Got the program. It was pretty good, like art and stuff that they had going on. Oh yeah, you showing. Wow, that was fast, dude.
Is this the Game Boy Advance one, or that you got, or the regular Game Boy?
That looks like the Game Boy Advance one.
Oh, let me find the game, regular Game Boy.
The Game Boy one was like more like kind of top downy.
Oh my god.
It was pretty bad, but it's pretty. It's still got some fun to it, but it's pretty silly for sure.
They're calling it Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
Yes, gosh, it's so good.
I mean,
classic.
I'm still the type of guy who thinks of Game Boy games as Game Boy games and not as Game Boy Color games, because I had a Game Boy and not a Game Boy Color, and I feel like all the younger cats all had the color. But this is wild. Look at this shit. It looks like Paperboy on a skateboard.
Yeah, 100%. and I just remember this is like he's doing a race, and I remember there's some really weird controls, and so I'm like, look, he's going so slow. He obviously just didn't know how to figure out the controls.
Yeah, thank you.
It looks like a cartoon version of Bat and Red on the Game Boy that I had.
It's pretty good. I remember this being incredibly hard, but eventually I learned how to do stale fish and some indies and stuff, and it's a vibe.
Thank you, Chorizo Machine on YouTube for that footage. Chorizo Machine.
Yeah.
The fuck.
Couple other things I got a Skyrim tie clip. That's pretty cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's rad,
I
dude.
can get my camera to focus. It's in autofocus mode, so that's cool. I can look nerdy and styling at the same time. Then both Kevin and I got some cool disc plate metal.
Rad, dude.
Type of things. I got that.
Nice. Of course, that's your game.
That's my game.
That's your number one. Oh shit! A legendary game right there, the Super Metroid.
And so we both.
Fuck yeah!
It was too cool.
Ooh, that's sick, bro. Hell yeah!
He showed me his as we were walking out of the convention center, and I was like, dude, I gotta have one of those. So I made him go back inside and lead me to the booth that was selling them. So. Yeah, thank you.
That's so rad.
No, they were cool, and they were a steal too. They weren't expensive.
Nice.
Which was cool. And then I got one more thing, which a little bit of a story about this. I got a Magikarp.
Was that NeON?
A neon light. Yeah.
What? Cool. That's cool. You can light it up, right?
I can. I unfortunately there is an issue with this one because this was actually a prototype that they made, and it was a one-off. However, they're a local company. They are called. Hold on, I have it right here. I was just talking to them. Rose City Retro, and I'm gonna actually meet him tomorrow, and he's gonna fix it because he knows exactly.
Oh, nice.
So,
nice.
So that's cool.
Let's check them out.
Yeah, check them out. They're on Instagram.
Nice. They're making all sorts of. Awesome.
Yeah, there was lots of cool ones. I almost got the Majora's Mask one.
That is rad.
But I just thought
Dude,
Magikarp was gonna work for me.
I see Hollow Knight. I see the Boo, of course, the Metroid. Down the way we have the Ghostbusters shit for Greg Miller, and Mario Star way on the end. That's cool.
They were a little bit pricey. Otherwise, I thought about getting them as gifts for people because they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm stoked because I'm gonna go meet them tomorrow, and they're gonna fix it up because he knows what's wrong. So
sweet.
Anyways, but yeah, really cool stuff. And then Kevin, you want to talk about the panel that we went to?
Yeah. So I was looking through the list of panels that we could go to, and one caught my eye just because I love the Kind of Funny and Game Showdown that Kind of Funny produces. So we found a Family Feud kind of game that they were producing there. I have not listened to any of the podcasts that were featured on this panel, but they just played a round of games themed Family Feud, and it was hilarious. It was just great to sit in because they would ask questions, and then someone would give an answer, and you could audibly hear everyone in the crowd just go, because it was a bad answer. Like,
It's like, oh, this guy doesn't know his shit.
There was some bad answers.
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah.
come on, guys.
what is the best controller? What console has the best controller? And like someone answered the Nintendo 64. And it was like, no.
That is definitely the worst.
I think the first answer was the PS2, which is like, I don't have any real complaints against the PS2, but it's certainly not the best.
DualShock is, it's a good prototype for like the ultimate PlayStation controller, right?
It's been improved upon
for sure. But I think we all know what the best controller is out there, besides the Xbox controller, of course. GameCube controller.
Oh yeah,
that is the correct answer.
No one said GameCube. And
Nobody said GameCube.
Everyone was wanting to scream like,
God,
like just say
Wavebird, dog.
just
Come on.
The number one on that list was very surprising. It was the
Duke.
OG
The Duke.
Xbox, the Duke.
Whoever they surveyed were like 40 to 50-year-olds.
They were just trolling super hard. I don't know.
Very true. Yeah, very true.
But yeah,
the controller that was made for Shaquille O'Neal was the number one.
It was members of a podcast called Debate This, and then there was a girl on there they're called Two Girls, One Ship, and that sounds like a pretty good podcast. That's where they go through video game relationships and say whether they ship it or not.
Nice.
And that's a pretty cool. She was cool. We talked to her after the panel, and that was Anyway,
nice.
It was a really fun panel, and it was a good time, and there was a lot of audience participation and stuff. At one point,
actually near the end, they were trying to name who was the most annoying Smash Brothers character, and like have one be like, well, I don't know who's in Smash Brothers, and then the other half to be like, oh yeah, it's like it's Sora, isn't it? Like Sora's the most annoying, and finally like. I had to raise my own hand and be like, no. Like they finally like turned it to the audience, and I shouted, "It's Kirby! It's got to be Kirby!"
Everyone in the audience collectively went like, "Yeah, god damn it!"
From the N64 version, 100% it was Kirby.
Any version.
Nah, he's a little bitch in Brawl, dude. In Brawl, they nerfed the shit out of him, and he's not annoying in that one.
Yeah.
Pikachu would work on that list. Fox would work on that list. Jigglypuff.
The question was,
I'm so annoying with Jigglypuff. I'll tell you what. I'll slap the shit out of you.
Put everyone to sleep. The thing was, they did the thing where it was a vague question. It was just who's the most annoying character in Super Smash Bros. Like, So,
Jigglypuff, Fox, Pikachu, obviously Kirby would be like top 4
in the original.
Kirby's he picks you up.
Yeah. Kirby's taunt especially is annoying. Yeah.
Love
Show
it.
me your moves.
Oh, that's the best taunt of all. Come on.
Me and my friends used to always say, "Show me your boobs," because we were children.
All right.
We were children playing video games.
All right.
But so it was really cool. I really enjoyed our time there. I bought a bunch of like fun little things. I also got. I don't have them here for show and tell, but I got my wife some little Millennium Falcon earrings. That was fun.
Nice.
And I got my daughter this like creepy spider stuffed animal, but she loves it and it's really fun because she just walks around with this creepy spider like holding it, and that's pretty cute.
That's awesome.
They don't have any predispositions towards anything when they're that age,
Everyone loves a creepy spider baby. All right.
Well, she loves the Itsy Bitsy Spider song, so I was like, "Look, it's a spider," and she did the little motion, and it was.
Oh.
So now she like cuddles it. It looks really funny because there's just like a spider like on her neck, but it's pretty cool.
She might like spiders in the future,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm cool with that. So yeah, good time. And then one thing though that was unfortunate was someone pulled the fire alarm, which was not. It
great. Happens, yeah.
So everyone had to vacate and go back in, but such is life. And then the arcades were pretty epic. We went to, there was one row that just had like all these old arcade machines that were like from the era of like, you know, Round Table Pizza having arcade machines.
Wow.
And we found one of my favorite old ones, which was Primal Rage.
Oh yeah, love Primal Rage for sure.
Good.
We played a match of that, although neither of us really remembered the controls, but we
It was a button mash all the way.
yeah. But it was good stuff. I played like a round of Excite Bike with someone. That was cool. I went into the Sega room. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I'd beat you at some Ice Climbers versus, dude.
No, yeah, for sure.
Destroy you at that.
Ice Climbers, what a game.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time.
And then Round Table, sweet.
I'm just looking at Round Table arcades.
No, it's funny. Round Table like was kind of the most I interacted with like a regular arcade scene. You know what I mean? Like we put a round table and there was like a handful of games in the back, and you would go and, you know, I remember there was like, I think there was like Tekken Tag in my local one.
Mm-hmm. Tekken Tag rules.
I think there was one of the cruising games. I don't remember if it was, I think it was Cruisin' Exotica, which is like the last cruising game.
There was one there at the expo.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Nice.
And then Hydro Thunder was the other one that we saw there. That was
Hydro Thunder. Yep. Who can forget? Classic. Fuck yeah.
I did want to shout out because we met them there, and now I got to really get out there. Out in Hillsboro, which is not too far from us, there's a place called Next Level Pinball. So spoke to those guys, and they seemed really cool. And they like have like a crazy amount of pinball machines out there, but also just arcade games in general.
Nice.
It looks like just a crazy looking place, and there's, you know, stuff everywhere, and I think it's like $20 for admission, and then you can just play as many games as you want.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty epic.
Sweet.
I think that's a really good way to do it, right? Instead of like being, you know, it's just like go and do your thing and just get down.
Yeah, we have
you been there, Kevin? Sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
And I do think we need to schedule a weekend to go out there and just go with a few friends.
Yeah, let's do a meetup. So another thing that Kevin does around here, which is awesome, runs a kind of funny best friend community Discord, and so there's like the Portland segment of the kind of funny best friends. So we've done a couple of meetups.
We got about 20 people in the Discord too, so
sweet.
A good chunk of Portlanders up here.
Yeah, finally got to meet Griffin from this weekend. He came as well. That was cool.
Wow, there's a lot of games there.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot going on. But yeah, our buddy Griffin, he's a developer for EA.
Nice.
And so that was cool. He came through and came to the expo with us as well.
Yeah. Do you have any other arcade games that you saw there that were big shout outs?
I'm trying to see. Well, one thing that I saw as we were passing by was there was people doing a Tetris tournament, and those people were really freaking good at Tetris.
Yeah, don't fuck around.
Just stand there and watch.
Don't fuck around with Tetris.
Nah.
Yeah, it was pretty trippy to like see, you know, I think there was like 8 or 16 screens up on the projector.
Yeah.
People shredding at Tetris.
They're probably playing like Tetris Masters or like one of the arcade ones. Because there's this one arcade one that was like, that's the one that all the tournaments run off of.
The competitive one. Yeah, it looked like it was a pretty bare bones looking UI, but it was definitely, they were crushing it. So
yeah, I love it. Yeah, here in Vegas we have a pretty awesome pinball Hall of Fame here too.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was slightly off strip, and now it's actually on the strip. But you can see, you know, it's pretty massive. Wow. It's just like a huge warehouse, and then there's like they have like a lot of historical stuff in there. You know, some arcade games too, which is pretty awesome. We don't have like a lot of arcades here, but this is like if you come to Vegas and you drive down the strip from the very south end, you'll pass by it on the right. It's pretty rad.
That's a pretty serious just pinball sign for sure. Shout out to Foxy City who says he still has quarters in his bag from there. And there you go.
Yep.
His bag from there. That's good stuff. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Arcades now, I think in Portland they're actually pretty popular as far as like, kind of like barcades, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I've been to a few of them. There's actually one right down the street from me. They don't allow minors in though, which is one of those things where I'm like, okay, cool, but you're also like an arcade. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit funny. So I can't even go in there with my daughter. I'm like, she would do nothing. She would just hang out and like press a button or two.
You've got video games. That's what kids want. Don't shut them out.
Yeah, for real.
Like, I'm just gonna come in there and buy beer and just have her like press a few buttons. She's not gonna care.
I don't know. I mean, I like having a bar for just adults to play games at for sure.
I totally get it, but there are lots of them around here for sure, which is cool. And I think in a lot of cities they've become more of a thing.
Not here anymore. Not here anymore. There was a lot in Vegas, and then over time they just melted. There's really no more left. There's only one at Area 51 or 15 or whatever, and it's every machine's broken, and it's pretty lame. So
that sucks. Definitely, if you're gonna run one of those shops, you need to also be a repairman or at least have one on staff, because if you don't know how to fix your own machines, you're gonna pay a bunch of money to do that.
Yep.
I don't. If anyone listens to Game Scoop, Sam Claiborne on there runs a really great one in San Francisco called Free Gold Watch on Haight Street. If anyone's ever in San Francisco, it's a great barcade.
Nice.
And he runs and fixes all of his own arcade machines. He's a total arcade nerd, so that's cool.
That's tight.
Yeah, pretty cool. Especially the pinball stuff. He's like the pinball wizard, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I just kind of wanted to touch base on this since we went and saw all these retro games. It was really cool to see, a whole hall full of people trading and buying retro games. I forget, we were talking to the Next Level guys, and one of the guys' dads was like, my son just spent $3,000 or something on some collectible games or something. He was like totally tripping about it. I'm like, he's probably gonna make money on those, so there's obviously like the collector aspect of it, but I kind of wanted to just talk about like access to, old past generations of games. What's considered retro these days is kind of a fluctuating metric. But I wanted to look at we're going more and more digital as we go into the future. And a lot of that is including this kind of subscription model like Game Pass or Nintendo Switch Online or PS Plus, which, Kevin, you are very familiar with since you go through that catalog on a regular basis. Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to compare and contrast these offerings and see kind of like what is the state of easy access to retro gaming today. So
I have a really easy access way of accessing retro games digitally.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Nice. Allegedly.
You just need a computer to do it, and you can get any game. Maybe.
Yeah.
You don't need to pay a dime, but go ahead. Continue.
Nice. No, I like that. Yeah. And it's funny. I think maybe let's start with Nintendo then while we on that topic, because
sure.
I think Nintendo is both a pretty good shepherd of keeping old titles relevant, and yet they do some funny things where they will just not release a thing for a long time, or like block it, or just put it in the vault and say good luck finding this thing, and you have to, or like you're like, I want to buy this thing on a modern console, but you just won't let me. What do you guys think?
So like when I saw your outline here, I actually like threw in my notes different rankings, or like how I'd evaluate each one of the three companies that have these subscriptions, and Nintendo comes in last.
Yeah,
they're for me how I judge it like the lowest, because they only seem to bring a select number of classics to the current hardware, and they're either the highest profile games or just some random lesser known game that maybe a few people played. And they're really tied to their own subscription service tiers. Like, you can't go out and just buy Super Metroid again, for every single console that you own. And instead you just have to hope that it stays there on that service. And it should, because it's one of their owned properties, but still, like, you have to pay for it on a monthly basis or an annual basis just to play it again. So if on a whim, a year from now, you still like want to go in and play Super Metroid again or A Link to the Past again, even though you played it last year, you still have to keep paying them. So
Totally.
that's one thing that I think really holds them back from getting better grades for actually preserving games. And looking at this from like games preservation, they also they have like the worst hardware when it comes to allowing them to preserve their games. So people want to see old games come back, especially ones that they loved, from like 20 years ago, which at this point was the GameCube. And we don't have GameCube games on Switch now because I'm guessing because it's a hardware limitation. That's also why we don't have a lot of N64 games on there. Yeah. But we don't have that. So like the one other thing I brought for show and tell was after going to the Retro Expo, I thought like, I really want to play Eternal Darkness again. So
nice.
I plugged in my Wii and started playing it again.
Fuck yeah.
And when we were at the expo, I remember walking by probably 4 different booths, seeing copies of Eternal Darkness there. And each booth that I saw that had it had one copy, and it was for sale for $100.
Yeah.
And I know that there is an audience that wants that game back.
Of course.
The game graphically hasn't aged well, but it still plays really well, and it has great voice acting. So, there are some ways to get that remade. And if Nintendo wants to make money that way, they could.
The game design of that game is patented as well, so no other game can like have a sanity meter basically in the way that game did it. Which is also pretty criminal when you think about it, that it's like locked on an old console. Basically forcing you to either spend money you don't have or, money you want to spend on a collectible, or just fucking steal it and play it on an emulator. Or on one of those.
If it's not for sale, though.
That's exactly my point. But there's also a massive market. I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later. This is what I can add to this conversation of little emulation machines. The Pocket one and the Mios. I have a friend that collects these, and there's a massive market for it. And it's totally legal to buy the machine. You know what I mean? You're supposed to own the software, but like. Where the hell am I supposed to buy Eternal Darkness? Tell me, Nintendo. Where?
I mean, it is a hard truth to look at right now, but like there's a lot of games that I want to recommend to people that don't have any way to play them. And Nintendo actually has like one of the deepest histories. And so when you evaluate all 3 of these companies together, it's like comparing apples to oranges to bananas. Like, they're not all the same thing.
Correct.
Nintendo has the deepest history to go to, so they have the biggest task to preserve their history. However, because of that, they're doing the worst at it too, because we're losing so much from the Nintendo 64 era and the GameCube era, and like throughout all of their history, there's third-party games that you're not going to see ever again. You're not going to see Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout from the NES. Which, was one of my favorites when I was a kid. And I did play it a couple of years ago, but not on a Nintendo console.
Yeah. I would also say that I think Nintendo has, this is pretty subjective, but has maybe some of the most old games that hold up. You know what I mean? Like, because they have always just been so gameplay first focused, you know what I mean? And so while like even something like Mario 64, like we're seeing right now, might have some antiquated jank with some like camera things or a little bit of controls, stuff like that, it's still kind of like the beginning of modern 3D platformers, and or is, I would say, not even kind of. So it's just one of those things where you want to see those types of things flourish in their forms, and they spend their money in places and do remakes and stuff in current ways. But I think there's other platforms like we'll talk about that are doing more for their full catalogs better. And like this is, talking about like the mainstreamness of it. Nintendo brings some pretty weird, obscure stuff forward, which is always interesting to me. And yet, like, why isn't Pokemon on their subscription service. Like I literally can't play the old generations of Pokemon on Switch if I wanted to right now. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way.
Yeah.
Like I would buy those. I would honestly. I mean, this is so silly. I would buy Pokemon Red for $50 on the Switch if they would sell it to me. Like I honestly,
No.
like,
No, you're not allowed.
That's my problem. But
You're not allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I just want to give you money so I can play the thing.
No.
I literally break out my fucking Game Boy Color and play under a light in my living room to play Pokemon. It's so stupid.
No, you're not allowed.
The 3DS, the 3DS store is also closed down now, so I literally couldn't buy that on there if I wanted to either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also just like small artistic games that were downloadable that you're not going to see anymore that were on the Wii. Like, I had always heard about World of Goo, and never got into it. The first downloadable game I ever got was Art Style Orient on the Wii, and that one is like one that you could go to Wikipedia, you could go to YouTube and look it up, but you're not going to be able to play it at all because it was only on the Wii, and that's gone now. And so like it has like a 1980s NASA informational video aesthetic to it.
Wow,
in both
it looks
like graphics and sound, and it really is just a 2-button game. You push A to attract your small planet to other larger planets, or B to repel them, and you just have to run yourself into one of the blue planets to make yourself bigger, and then you also can capture other smaller planets in your orbit.
Cool.
But it's like the game Osmos that was on phones a couple of years ago, and like this is before then. So I did end up playing this a couple of times on my Wii before I started up Eternal Darkness, but thankfully I still have it there, and I still have a working Wii that has it.
Man,
that's rad.
Yeah, it's got a bit of like a Katamari thing going on. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game seems cool. It's just it's just unfortunate. Like, I mean, just in general, like game preservation as a topic is something that's coming up a lot. I even heard them talking about it on NPR. They were interviewing someone at the Game Preservation Museum or wherever the heck that is. I don't know exactly where. It's like a society. They were just kind of they're just kind of talking about like what you guys are talking about, like how games just aren't available in any form across the board for whatever reason. And like this is also the whole digital versus physical debate, of course, which I'm a digital guy. I don't really buy physical stuff, right? Because it's just easier just to fucking hit the buy and then it downloads, right? But then of course, like I'm at the whim of the game preservation of the company. I mean, anytime Xbox could legally just say, you know what, Game Pass is dead, your library's gone, fuck you, no more Xbox, it's all shut down, and you can't do it anymore. And it's like, what? And like, so
and it's so interesting because in so many other art forms there is such a dedicated like element of preservation of things. Like in film there's like tons of like the Library of Congress or just like the Criterion Collection,
right?
Organizations that are doing like work to make sure that all of these films, no matter how obscure they are preserved in usually the most like brought forward version of them. Like we've seen even someone like Peter Jackson go through and restore a bunch of Beatles footage or World War I footage or whatever, and in film this is like a pretty regular practice to remaster or bring old things up into 4K or all that kind of stuff. And it just feels like that because the video game medium is newer, even though it's gaining age at this point, but since it's newer, it seems like there's just not the same level of care put on the art form in that way.
I think also it's a case of the hardware itself hasn't been standardized, and I don't think it ever will be, and because of that you have to rely on the companies themselves to preserve their own history. And it's not always the best done.
You're right. It's not like, oh, well, this is all shot on 35 millimeter film, so as long as we have that, we can like do, I mean, I'm sure there's still licensing issues with a lot of it, but 100-year-old films, doesn't matter. So well, you talk about Xbox, Jacob, and you're right. I think we all need to be slightly nervous of the fact that we're all just licensing games. We don't own shit.
Yeah.
At this point,
It's definitely something to be aware of and not to forget.
A small anecdote, and then I'll pass it off. But there was a slight period of time when I was just getting my act together as a young adult. Didn't have any money. I was traveling a lot. I sold a lot of my possessions, and I wasn't gaming for a few years. The last console that I had owned was an Xbox 360. This was like in 2013. And I traveled for like a year of my life and then moved to New York City and was a starving artist kind of thing. I eventually kind of got myself to a place where I was like, I can buy a console if I want to. And it was the Xbox One era. It was a few years into the Xbox One era, and they had already announced all of the backwards compatibility stuff. Nice. So I went in and I got a few things from my mom's storage unit, like an old PS2 of mine and some old gaming stuff, and I traded it into GameStop to get some credit towards getting a new Xbox. And so I got the Xbox One. I plugged it in back at my house, my little ass apartment in Brooklyn, and I logged into my Xbox Live account, and boom, I had like 30 games. I was like, and because I had downloaded a bunch of Xbox Live Arcade games, old Xbox, OG Xbox games. I had Morrowind on there, Skyrim on there. I was like, it was all there, and I was just like so excited that, and literally I loaded them up, and my saves worked. Like, I had all of these. It was so cool. Banjo-Kazooie, like all these old games. And so I will say that Xbox, while they have probably the least old games, you know what I mean? The Xbox. Original Xbox came out in what, 2000, 2001?
2001,
so,
yeah.
So they're, that is definitely retro, I would say, at this point. But I would say they have the least catalog to worry about, but I still think they are doing maybe arguably the best, or at least the most cohesive job at preserving not only the games but your experience with those games, which is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I would agree. Even like reaching back to earlier, because now they own Rare.
Yeah.
They reach back into Rare's history and not just preserve those games well, but update them so that they feel like they should.
You remember. Yeah.
Like you remember. The greatest example of that is GoldenEye, and you can compare that version of GoldenEye to the one that's on Nintendo Switch Online.
Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
And like they just said like, oh well, here for Nintendo they said, here's the game, it's on Nintendo Switch Online, have fun. But they still like keep it as the programmed N64 way to control things. So you have to control it southpaw, where you aim. The best way is you aim with your left hand and you move with your right. But even then, you have to go in and remap some of the buttons to make it work. Yeah. So, like with Nintendo's version of that, it is, just terrible compared to how Xbox did it, where they said, "Oh, it's a shooter. It should be using twin sticks. Yeah. Like that's how you should do it." Yeah. And they programmed it like it should be played and should be remembered.
Yeah, it's baffling.
A lot of their games, just kind of quietly in the background, are both up-resed, and then they take advantage of I forget what it's called, their program that they did, but essentially they're 60 FPS now, which is awesome. Like, I was playing what's it called? Oh, Time Splitters Future Perfect, which is like the last Time Splitters game that came out the other day, and it's in 60 FPS. It feels great. Like like that's a pretty fast kind of frenetic shooter, and I was just like, honestly, like other than it looking like a little bit muddy and dithered, I would say it felt really good to play. It's funny.
Cortez still plays great in that.
Oh yeah,
it still feels so good. Yeah,
I love those games. I was really bummed when Embracer Group canned their modern adaptation of it. Although who knows what it would have been like anyways. It probably would have been a disappointment. But
no,
I heard it wasn't going so well.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, I'm totally a physical media kind of guy. Like behind me, you can see our 4 foot tall of CDs, that a CD shelf that has my action figures on top of it. But
Nice.
Yeah, when it comes to physical media, we really need that. And Microsoft, at least, has, put all of their stuff as much as they can digitally and made sure that you always own it. Yep. So you're not ever, like, in theory, you're not ever going to lose access to it as long as they, continue to maintain that. And you're right.
And as long as you have an account that's linked, yeah. Right? That's really all that's the only gateway.
That's the one thing. As long as you can sign in, but like they have a history in computer architecture and having the most dominant operating system in the PC market. So it makes sense that because they were maintaining an operating system for decades and just iterating on that, they know how to build with a forward-thinking kind of mind.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Even though, Steam, like for instance, the Steam Deck uses a Linux-based system and stuff. Yeah. Like PC games are kind of grandfathered into the Xbox ecosystem because they're such a PC-forward platform,
Yeah, I mean, if you had played any of
excellent drop-ins,
I saw
stuff. So a
few things missing from your list.
Transition into PlayStation momentarily, because I know that's your area of the most knowledge, Kevin. But just a couple of shout-outs from the Xbox Game Pass. What's available on that system on that subscription that's retro. Some of these are like efforts of either developers or Xbox themselves to bring them forward. Like we have NHL 94 Rewind, which is like a modern version of the old NHL 94 game. We've got Age of Empires 2, which I play a lot of actually on there. The definitive edition, brought forward to be able to play on console, which it works really well. I know, Jacob, you can speak to that too. You've been playing Age 4 and
I don't know how
Age
long
2.
I've been muted to you guys, but I have been talking.
Oh no.
So I was like, all right, yeah, you guys. No, I was like, oh, okay, no, that's because you guys couldn't hear me. No, that's my fault. I probably
doing work, putting the list.
No. I mean, I've been talking, but it's because I forgot I have my hotkey for muting enabled at the moment. Nice. So I may have said a bunch of stuff you guys in here, but that will end up on the recording. So you can listen back and be like, oh, yeah, that's where Jacob was like, well, actually, never mind. I guess it's cool. Sorry, you guys can. No, that's my fault.
That's all good. We just sound like a couple of bullies. Like, you can't talk.
Whatever, man.
You don't know what you're talking about.
No, I was just going to say earlier that that's like with PC gaming, just so you know, all you gamers out there, what he was talking about with, it's so nice games are in 60 FPS with the FPS boost. Well, if you had just played it on PC in the first place, you'd already be in that boat. But continue, please. I got to talk my shit.
I mean, I think that's I think more and more, and like I've been out of the realm of PC gaming for years now, but I think more and more we're seeing that in a lot of ways, PC gaming is the place to have the most diverse swath of games at your fingertips and play them in the best way possible and or truly your choice of the way possible, like good old games or emulators or things like the Xbox Store or Xbox Game Pass PC or just Steam or Epic Store. Like they're all competing for trying to give you the best experience, and we're just reaping the benefits of that.
At the end of the day, and this isn't really a retro gaming thing, it sort of is, because you do get some retro games, like for instance, especially through Amazon Prime Gaming. All of these online stores are just handing you free shit all the time. They're like, totally, shop with us, here you go, free game. Epic gives them to you every week. And Amazon Prime, really interesting. I've gotten a lot of SNK arcade games through just like paying attention and redeeming the free games every month. Same thing with GOG. I have a lot of stuff. Like I have Flashback. That's a retro PC game. Like I said, through SNK, I have like 4 Metal Slugs. I have Last Blade. That's like a fighting game. I have Twinkle Star Sprites, dude. That's a fucking amazing arcade retro game from SNK. or at least one of the older ones. So just keep throwing that out there for the viewer, the listener. If you do want free retro games and you're on a PC, make sure to pay attention to all the free shit that's just been thrown all over the place. It doesn't need to be emulators. It can be like legit free.
Totally. Because I watch, or, I use Twitch as a platform so much. I have Twitch Prime, or I have Amazon Prime. Even though I always redeem the free games, even though I don't have a PC that can play them. One day I will.
Yeah.
I'll have that account that's tied to it, and I'll just open it up and be stoked. Same thing with Epic. I have an Epic Game Store account, and occasionally there's Mac compatible games on there, but I pretty much just have it to play Fortnite with. And there, but even so, it's like, yeah, add them to my library. Like one day I'll have a PC and be like,
yeah, I think recently they've been giving away the old Tomb Raider games. I don't think they gave the originals, but like some of the older ones, like Tomb Raider 2, Tomb Raider 3, a couple other Legends, like Legends, like some interesting stuff like that. So just a little heads up, old games are still good.
Kevin, you mentioned it before, but Rare Replay is a stellar version, and I'm really excited about the modern trend of doing cool collections. Like Atari 50 was really a notable one recently, with even though some of the old Atari games are pretty whack, to be honest, in my opinion. The way they did that game, where there's like documentaries and commentary on each of the games, like I thought that was really well done. Rare Replay is another one where the presentation of Rare Replay is like, you go into this like theater, and it's like showing you all these old games, and you go through essentially the entire history of Rare, like kind of as a progression, and it's really really well done. I know the X-Men collection, or not X-Men, sorry, Mega Man collections have been really good lately. Recently the Marvel vs. Capcom one finally came out. That was during a PlayStation State of Play, right? I think so. So finally we have MVC2 available to play, which was again just one of those games that was locked off for so long. So that's really cool. So a couple more on the Xbox thing, and then we'll move on. You have all the old original Xbox, like Crimson Skies, the Doom games, Fusion Frenzy. The Halo games are immortalized through the
Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, you've got like Morrowind, which is one of my favorite games. Was an original Xbox game, so you can play that in like its best form on Game Pass. The Mana games, just a couple of them came over, Trials and Legend.
I would say Legend of Mana is the retro game in that little package. Because Trials of Mana originally was a 2D game on the SNES, a follow-up to Secret of Mana that never came to America, and they remade it as a 3D game, and that's what Trials of Mana is. So you are playing a retro game remake, so it's kind of close.
Yeah, totally.
Legend of Mana, though, it's largely the same game, just up-resed, which is great. Love it.
Nice. And then the Psychonauts games, you got some good. There's a couple of Double Fine, old Double Fine games.
They're
full throttle.
Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango's on there, like the old LucasArts ones. I think there might even be some Monkey Island ones on there. Which aren't remakes, kind of like up-resed. So like, some of them
are the 360 ports, which were like already sort of up-resed in some way or another.
Still retro.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, arguably 360 is about to be considered retro.
It already is, kind of.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Say anything older than 10 years is probably like getting into retro.
Yeah, it's funny how some of those things don't feel retro because they've continued like cultural relevance. Like Halo, for instance, like Halo Reach, I don't consider retro because that was like at the very end of the 360. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet, like Halo Combat Evolved, when you look at it, you're like, that looks like a retro game at this point, kind of. Like I don't know.
It's been a long time though for all those games.
I mean, 2001, man, that's old.
Fucking over 20 years ago. bro.
Yeah.
Is there gonna are we gonna have like different tiers of retro? Like, are we gonna say like this is Golden Age retro, Silver Age retro, like comic books? Are we gonna do that type of shit? Because I feel like we're getting to that point.
Golden Age is like pre-video game crash, so that's like 1983 through, you know, like whatever. Yeah.
That's like the Atari days when there's and Commodore, like back when consoles were a dime a dozen. There's like 600 consoles out there.
Yeah. The Intellivision and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit those are complete and utter blind spots for me. I mean, you know, like I played I think like Pong as a novelty even for me in the early 90s, you know what I mean? Like on the little Pong joystick, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I had some friends who had an Atari at their beach house, and that was the only place that I ever saw an Atari. And I did get to play that version of Pac-Man. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But still, it was Pac-Man on the Atari.
It's a screaming pile of shit, I hear.
Yeah.
But going back to the Retro Expo, like that was the only place that I actually did try playing an Intellivision. And
cool.
Like thankfully like that was there. So it was really cool. Just
That's
cool
so rad. That's so rad.
Yeah, it is cool to see. And you know, I remember there was I forget what his name is, but he's kind of a grifter, and he was like going to bring back the Intellivision recently, and it's like it's like that's
Tommy Tallarico.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's not the point that we're getting after when we're talking about game preservation. We're talking about like preserving these things in their original form in a way that's playable in the modern era. But Kevin, but take us through the PS Plus catalog. I was looking here in the dock. If you're looking, there's specifically the classics catalog. I'll admit I'm a little shaky on the different tiers of PS Plus. So is this this is the highest tier of PS Plus, right?
So like the highest tier of PS Plus is premium, and you know that is what gets you access to the PS classics, and those are PS1 titles, PS2 titles, and then it gets you streaming to PS3. All the PS3 titles that are on there. So
cell processing. That's what that does.
That's premium. Yeah. And then when you subscribe to just extra, the tier below that, then you pretty much just get anything that was on the PS4 and PS5 libraries that are up there.
Gravity Rush and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, like the Gravity Rush remastered. Anything on PS5 like Deathloop, you're gonna be able to download there. But then most people just subscribe to PlayStation Plus Essential, which will get you the 3 free games that they give away for the month. And that's fine too.
What Xbox Gold and then original PS Plus was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
And so like when you look at from a broader perspective of what Sony is doing, they do have a hard task because they have to preserve the stuff that was put out on PS3, and that is a hard thing to do because that architecture is so weird, and you know it is not very forward thinking in that like you'd have to emulate the PS3. And so to get around that, they just ship that off to a different server and say, oh, you have to stream it. And that's the only way you can. Yeah. And then with PS1 and PS2 games, you download them and then you can play them. But you have to subscribe to PS Plus Premium for both of those options where you can stream or download. And when it comes to the PS1 and PS2 classics, you can also just buy them if you didn't subscribe. Okay. So for like $6, you can play Ape Escape again.
And in so many ways, that's probably better, right?
Yeah,
100%.
You own that license to do it now. And you know, if you're really into trophy hunting, you get a PS4 and PS5 version, so you can platinum it twice. If that's what you want to do. But they also just straight up put these out there to play, and they almost never change anything when it comes to controls, and you know they put them in HD, but they don't change any of the graphics. So I tried playing Siphon Filter because I never did, and oh boy, it is not easy to play. It does not play like a conventional third-person shooter. And it would be better if it kind of got Microsoft's GoldenEye treatment where they said, we need to change the controls here. And if we just do that, it's a lot more accessible because I don't want to have to strafe using the shoulder buttons, and that's just
Yeah.
it's not how I play games now. It's not how anyone plays games.
It's like trying to play oh my god, what is that mecha game from Software? Armored Core.
Yeah.
Like I tried playing Armored Core 5 and I was like, hell no. This is not working.
You have to look up and down with the RB and
Yeah.
trigger.
It's a fucking nightmare. Look, they have Last Blade 2 on here too. Well, it's kind of trippy.
Yeah.
There you go. I was looking at the OG Time Splitters right there.
Oh, they got Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Twisted Metal on there.
Yeah, so a couple highlights from the PS Plus Classics catalog. If you do subscribe at the highest tier, which I think is more expensive than the highest tier of Game Pass, but I think it's only by a couple bucks.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
You have things like the Ape Escape games. You have Atari Classics Volume 1 and 2. You have Dark Cloud.
Whoa.
God of War, the OG. I think it's actually the remastered.
They got like all these Jack and Daxters.
So that's the weird part, though, is that like the God of War PS1 and the God of War PS2 games are on there as the God of War collection that came out on PS3.
Sure.
So you still have to stream those even though they're PS2 games.
Oh, that's so annoying.
So it's really weird.
That's so annoying. Oh, man.
So
They do.
This is why they kind of get like the middle ground evaluation from me, where they're making an effort, but there's a lot of improvement they could make.
Yeah, the PS3. I mean, I to be fair, like, what do you really do about that? You know what I mean?
You can't do much. Yeah.
They really fucked themselves.
Yeah, I don't really fault them for that as much as like
I do.
I mean,
I do.
Yeah,
They made it.
It is their
They're
fault.
at fault.
It is their fault, but I just mean,
The solution is you go back in time with a time machine and you tell Cat not to do the cell processor.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
I do notice they have one of the best games ever made, Harvest Moon Back to Nature, on this collection.
Oh, classic. Harvest Moon. We got
It's one of the best games ever made.
They are also putting PSP games up there.
Wait.
Great. So
What?
So you get PSP games on there as well.
Yo, hold on. They got fucking Jet Moto?
Yeah.
Yo, I'm gonna pull up footage of that right now.
Nice. They've definitely got some good stuff on there. You were talking about Siphon Filter. Siphon Filter 1, 2, and 3 are on there. Tekken 2 is on there. Legend of Dragoon, The Mark of Kree. We got Tomb Raider Legends, Twisted Metal, Worms Armageddon is on there. Wow.
All I care about is Jet Moto now.
Mountain Dew.
This is all that matters to me now.
Background. Oh man.
I gotta see some footage.
That map specifically is bringing back such memories for me.
The cool thing about PlayStation 1 games, as well as old school PC games like this, is that the music was on the CD-ROM that had the data. So like track 1 was the data, and all the other tracks was the soundtrack. And so I remember pulling this out and like listening to the soundtrack all the time because it's pretty fucking good.
I was trying to think about.
You ever like take the CD and just like listen to the CD?
That's what I mean.
In like your car, your CD player.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I would do with this game.
Yeah.
I would take it out, skip song 1, and listen to the soundtrack because it was really good.
I remember like my old CD changer, like if I let it be on song 1, it would just be like 3 hours of like random garbage that didn't know how to process.
Like static.
I do that with Sonic CD all the time.
And then I don't know if you guys remember the Monster Rancher game that was on PS2, I think.
Yeah.
Or if you put different discs in, it would generate a new monster for you. Pretty cool.
That was so rad.
I was having a conversation with a friend about that the other day, and I was like, how would they do that in the modern era? And I was like, what about barcodes? Like if you just scanned
like QRs? I mean,
QRs or just regular product barcodes.
That's just Animal Crossing at this point, dog. I mean, they just have like the code, and then you get the guy you want, and you get the game.
100%. But I would like to see a modern take on something like that.
No, for sure. Oh God, he crashed. All right.
He crashed.
Enough of that footage.
Because it was like Wave Race, but then it was like also on land.
Awesome.
It was really cool.
Was awesomer.
It was far more awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get out of here soon, but a couple more things I wanted to shout out as far as just things if you are looking to get into retro gaming and maybe don't know exactly. There's things like Limited Run, the infamous internet personality Jared Petty works for them. I know, but they do some pretty amazing stuff, and I actually bought They were at the Retro Gaming Expo, and I bought a vinyl from them.
Sick.
I bought the Sable vinyl, which they put out, which is pretty cool. Sable is a game that came out not that long ago. It's not like a retro game, but yet it was a really good soundtrack by the artist Japanese Breakfast, and I had always I always liked her, and I had dabbled in the game. I never beat it, but I was like, this is a really cool soundtrack, and it's just the art on the vinyl sleeve itself is really gorgeous, and so I got.
Look at all this Dreamcast merch. What the fuck is happening? This is amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. God.
So yeah, I'm seeing a lot on there. Snufkin, Pumpkin Jack. So a lot of the indie games that are coming out now that feel retro are also getting the treatment from them, you know. But holy shit, a lot of Sega stuff.
Yeah, so they have what is it? Penny's Big Penny's Big Breakaway. There you go. Which is a really awesome 3D platformer. Feels like it should be on the PS2. I remember when they announced that they were going to do the physicals, and here they are. That's awesome.
That's very cool. So they do all sorts of stuff. They do books. They do, collections of things. They do, just you'll see them like PS5 or Switch physical releases for smaller games or old school collections like Shredder's Revenge. We're seeing which is a modern digital only game that they then do a limited run of physical copies. I think based on consumer demand, essentially, is like how much they print. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just think it's a really valiant effort, and I think we need more dedicated dorks like these to get this shit done. You know?
I really want those turtles.
I know, I want them so bad now.
I mean, look, those are literally meant to look like you're going to Toys R Us in the 90s and buying them. That's so cool, you know.
Right?
It would go really well right next to my Bloodborne Hunter behind me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
God, speaking of a game that needs to be brought forward into the modern gaming system.
Preserving that game. Seriously,
yeah. And there seems to be something with that where it's again something the way that game was developed. I remember listening to something about how bringing it to 60 FPS wasn't just like a turn on, like a switch that the PS5 could do. It has to do with the way it was developed, which is a shame, man. But it's also just interesting how, again, when certain game companies are on top and they're like, we don't really need to like do out there things to get your money, then we're just not going to deal with it. You know what I mean? It's like that seems to be where Sony's at these days.
Yeah, they're like, the hubris that is kind of ruining history.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, we'll remaster The Last of Us 7 times, but like if you, but like this game that is super beloved, but it's technically FromSoft, so we don't get the credit. It's like, or there's no TV show coming out about it, so we're not gonna care. Whatever.
They should just every time they remake The Last of Us, they should just put The Last of in front of each The Last of, and then you get something like The Last of Last of Us, which is kind of where we're at.
And then at some point it's going to be The Last Edition. The Last of Us : The Last Edition, which is not going to be their last remake of it.
Fuck. It's like keeping with Spooky Month. It's like what is it? Friday the 13th Part 5, I think, which is, or I think it's 4. It's called The Final Chapter, and then there's 4 more after that.
Yeah.
And then don't forget Freddy versus Jason.
I was about to get Freddy versus Jason, which comes afterwards.
That's the best one.
It's hilarious. I saw that in like a little boutique movie theater where you can drink a couple years ago, and it's just such awesomely bad goodness.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, awesome. I think this was a good discussion, and I appreciate everyone being here for it. And, it'll be interesting to see with the Switch 2 dropping supposedly next year, probably, what sort of forward/backward compatibility comes with there. I have a lot of faith that the next Xbox console will maintain their level of care that has come with the backwards compatibility team, the hardware team, all working together. Hey, look at Jacob. God, you're just on it, my friend. And then, with PlayStation, they're gonna keep promoting their biggest hits, and I don't know how much love they're gonna give to their old franchises, but PlayStation, we saw with Astrobot recently, they have a lot to celebrate in their older catalog, and I wish in some ways they would embrace that more.
I heard someone refer to Astrobot as Sony's graveyard that you just kind of run.
Ouch. Yeah. Ouch.
Yikes.
It's like you're like, oh great, this is so nostalgic, and I love all these Sony properties. I can't believe Sony has built such a amazing catalog of characters, and then you're like, oh yeah, but where are they?
Yeah.
I was playing Astro's Playroom right when I got a PS5, just as they were announcing that they were shutting down the PS3 store. And I had grabbed that collectible and was looking at the PS3 in Astro's Playroom. And my wife goes, so they're celebrating a lot of this stuff and they're also getting rid of it right now? It's going offline?
Just today, they shut down or delisted Little Big Planet 3, which is like, I know there's been some DDoS attacks and maybe some weird reasons why that might happen, but there's a pretty not huge, but their online community that still plays that game, especially since Media Molecule hasn't done any Little Big Planet stuff since. Just a weird element of that whole thing,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Especially because they own it.
Yeah. It's just an odd thing. I don't know.
No, let's just put out Concord and then take it offline instead.
It's a 2-week special event.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a wild decision.
It's not a good strategy.
Not a good strategy. We have more to discuss about PlayStation in the future, but
they're fine.
Good stuff.
They'll make it.
Well, Kevin, please. They're gonna be fine. Kevin, tell us once again where to find your podcast and plug yourself and all the good stuff you're doing.
You could find my podcast, the PlayStation Plus Game Club, on almost all podcast services. So
nice.
Just search for the whole PlayStation Plus Game Club, not just PS Plus. That's on there, and we do try to talk about games that either not as many people know about or are gone from the cultural zeitgeist for a very long time. A good example of that would be like The Evil Within that we talked about last year, and I had never played that game, but man, I highly recommended that one. Before it goes away from PS Plus next week. So that's another knock against Sony's service where things come and go. So you got to keep that in mind. But
that's the case with Game Pass. But the one thing that I don't know if this is the case with PS Plus, but with Game Pass at least they will give you a discount to buy it before it leaves, which is a nice perk.
But coming up we're gonna be talking about the Plucky Squire, and then
very cool.
Who knows what's happening after that. And I'm always looking for new guests. So either of you want to join us again, Gage, you're already on one episode, but please come back. It was great to have you.
I'll happily come on again. I've been in a little bit of a gaming slump, so maybe pulling from a backlog might be a good thing to do. So
yeah, same with you, Jacob.
Oh yeah. I actually had an idea like this a long time ago where I was like, oh, we should do a game club. It's like a book club, but we'll do like emulated games. And that was the idea, but this makes way more sense because it's like either PlayStation Plus or Game Pass or whatever, something cheap on Steam. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned Jared Petty earlier. He was the one who inspired me to do this. Because he was doing a podcast awesome. Kind of like it.
Yeah, I would love to play some ridiculous game on PS Plus. There's a lot of weird shit on there. Yeah. We'd have to pick the weirdest one though, if I'm there. Or like
I also go for stuff that is not that long, so it doesn't have to take over your life for a whole month.
Oh, no JRPGs.
No
JRPGs. No.
Yeah. Well, I will. One thing I've been wanting to do on our channel is because I'm so impressed with our Discord. Anyone in the Odd Valley Studios Discord, if you are interested in guesting on something like Kevin's podcast, please reach out. through me. Kevin is a member of our Discord also. So if you, is it just the Portland Kevin in our Discord?
It's the Portland Kevin, no spaces or underscore or anything.
So if someone like Foxy Steve, I saw you in the chat tonight. If you are interested in something like that, feel free. We always want to like promote cross collaboration and stuff like that. So come on down.
Hell yeah.
Thanks.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on another NeON topic discussion. This is our NeON Games Dimension, NeON Gaming Dimension discussion podcast. Shut up, Jacob. I know.
It says it right there.
I know.
I'm staring at it.
This is our NeON Gaming Dimension discussion podcast, where we talk about anything and everything within the gaming community, within the games media community, we'd love for you to give us a like and subscribe on YouTube.com/@symbol NeON Gaming Dimension, and then for our regular weekly podcast, which happens Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time, that is NeON Pocket Dimension, and the YouTube there is youtube.com/@symbol NeON Pocket Dimension, and right here if you're watching live, twitch.tv/NeON Pocket Dimension. So thank you. My name is Gage. Luke, that is Jacob, that is Kevin, and a very good night to y'all. Peace.
Bye.